Do you have any questions for me?
Okay, Supervisor Joya.
I just wanted to make a couple comments, and I first wanted to thank our hazardous materials staff, the Oversight Committee, Chevron, for all working through this comprehensive safety culture audit report. The last time we had a major report like this was at the General Chemical Facility in Richmond a number of years ago. And I think everyone all around acknowledged after that, General Chemical acknowledged this, the county and the community and the city of Richmond, that report, that the recommendations in that report which were implemented made that a safer facility. And that happened after there were some incidents at the General Chemical Facility. And I know these reports look very holistically and thoroughly, and I appreciate the action plan that Chevron's developed, and I know that all of the result of all of this makes our facilities safer, and we appreciate the hard work and effort that go into this. And I thought that the process, having the oversight, worked well. And so the only comment I'll make, and it's really not regarding this report, is I don't know, Randy, at some point letting us know that the Chemical Safety Board came out with some pretty serious concerns about safety culture at Tesoro, different than the issues here, because after a number of incidents. There were a number of incidents at Tesoro, and came out with a report recently. And you may at some point just let us know what your department is doing with the Chemical Safety Board on those reports.
Just a brief. After those incidents, we actually did a very thorough inspection of that particular unit. It was a alkylation plant, and we came up with another number of recommendations and things to be corrected. So we're working with Tesoro on that also to address some of the concerns that were raised by Tesoro. We'll be glad to talk about that in the future.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right, Supervisor Glover.
Thank you, Randy. I just wanted to thank you and the Oversight Committee for this work. I know it was tedious and certainly very diverse opinions on a lot of things, but overall, I think that you guys have concluded with some great work here. This is a fine report, and I just want to thank all the people that had the patience to sit through some real tedious work in Chevron for what they've done in their participation. Walt, good to see you, and good job.
Okay, and any other questions, board members? I do have one speaker card from Walt, if you'd like to come forward.
Well, good morning, board members. My name is Walt Gill. I'm the Government Affairs Manager at the Chevron Refinery. And I wanted to talk a little bit about the process of this evaluation and the outcome. I was there the night of the fire. Many of you maybe saw me on the news as we reported that very significant incident. But I want to tell you that Chevron, through this evaluation process, took it very seriously. We devoted a lot of staff resources, a lot of financial resources. The on-site audit was very extensive and very informational for us. And as a result, this report contains a number of significant findings that we take very seriously and that we have already or are working to address. And a significant part of that effort has been to better engage our employees. Randy talked about focus groups. Those are ongoing. And we've also made an extra effort to include the representatives from the United Steelworkers in that process. So that's been a process improvement for us to better understand how employees can get involved in investigations, employees can bring forth their concerns, and how we address those. I think Randy also talked, and Supervisor Glover talked about the Oversight Committee, and that, as you saw, was a very diverse group. A lot of folks that don't necessarily agree with us from the community, but that made for a very robust and transparent process, and one that we really learned from. I want to also recognize Randy and his staff in this effort, and just always very professional and very well versed, and they really hold us accountable and take us to creative and productive solutions as we work together to improve industrial safety in the county. So just finally, we recognize the value of external perspectives. Audits and people, third parties coming in to look at your operation is never easy, but it's very informative. And we've been working on this for a while. It's been 4 years. So we're happy that this phase is closed, and we're working on to the action plan and those improvements there. But that just shows how complex this issue is. So anyway, we appreciate the county's willingness to partner with us as we work forward to reduce incidents and eliminate them altogether. So thank you.
Thank you, Walt. And I do want to say also, Walt, we all appreciate Chevron's great cooperation in this. The refineries, the fact that we have 4 refineries in this county, they play a very significant, important role in our economy, have for over the last 100 years, and the fact that we have been the model for the state in creating a safety ordinance that doesn't just impose standards on our refineries, but it's a cooperative way that we can actually ensure the safety of your workers, of the community, and continue with this very vibrant, important part of the economy. So we appreciate the cooperation of Chevron in making that happen. And it's a long process, an onerous process, but it's one that we need to go through. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks for your comments.
Okay, Supervisor Pifo.
Just a quick question for Randy, Madam Chair. We had a horrible incident happen at Chevron that drove or was behind this report. And there's value to all of the refineries from reading it. But my question is, Chevron's not the only vulnerable facility in the county. Is there a way to proactively take on this sort of an inspection or review process without having a significant event having occurred, if that makes sense? Instead of being reactive, can we be proactive with the other 3 refineries in the county?
We've done those. This is our 4th one we've actually done in the past. We did one back in the early mid 90s at the,
which actually now is a long time ago, Randy.
Yeah, it was. But it was done at the Unocal refinery. Now it's Phillips 66, and we've also did one after the Tosco incident in '99, and then we did, as Supervisor Joya, was the General Chemical incidents, and now this one is Chevron. We're working with a working group. It was the last recommendation that we haven't completely addressed from the Chemical Safety Board that came to us about this very issue that you're speaking of. So we've been working with a working group as part of the Joint Committee, come with a process to do that. We just completed some recommendations we're going to bring. Bring the ad hoc committee that looks at industrial safety and community warning system on the process that we are looking at to follow if it's okay with their approval. Then it goes to a joint committee between the city of Richmond and the county. I just sent out the final ones yesterday, so I'll be setting up a meeting with the ad hoc committee to look at these issues. So it is being looked at this very time.
Okay, so a collaborative approach, and the details can be difficult always, but to take this, and the other refineries can read this and sort of self-identify vulnerabilities and other issues, how it may relate to their own facility. But it'd be great to be more proactive and take this approach with the other refineries countywide and recommend even regionally. Even though it's arduous, it's difficult, it takes a lot of time, energy, and resources to culminate it. But at the end of the day, it makes the facility safer, more public transparency, and confidence and trust that the system is working and that we're working together.
Yeah, and one of the actions being done too is just basically the state is proposing regulations that basically adopts the county's industrial safety order for petroleum refineries, and some of that looking at bringing in third parties to do evaluations is included in that language also.
Well, the refineries are a very important part of our community, our history, as Supervisor Anderson recognized, and the economy of our county. And we need to continue to find ways to work together and support them as much as they support the value of Contra Costa. Thank you.
Can I add something?
Yes, please.
I think Mary's comment underscores the importance of really following up on this Chemical Safety Board identification of issues at Tesoro, because frankly, there were a number of sulfuric acid releases that frankly have the potential to be a lot more serious than the hydrocarbon fire that occurred at Chevron. And so and there were a number of incidents, and there was a downplaying of those incidents that the report identified, and the report laid out a number of issues. So I think that's the need to follow up there, and that's been the refinery that's probably had the greatest history of issues and accidents, or at least recently. I mean, obviously it was under different management with with Tosco, and it was the new management made changes. But the sort of recent history of some issues there, I think, are concerning, and I think keeping on top of that in a proactive way with our own ordinance, which is acknowledged to be the best in the country, and has resulted in one of the safest refineries in the country, which we should be proud of. But there's work that needs to be done, especially there. Right.
Okay, any other comments? At this time, all we need is a motion to accept the Chevron Richmond Refinery
moved.
evaluation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
That motion carries unanimously. We are now going to move on to item D7, and this is to adopt